is up? Hopefully you guys are having a wonderful day. Back with some Alan Wake 2 DLC Night Springs episodes. One of the few things I did enjoy hearing about at the Summer Games Fest, because if you can't already tell, yeah, that was not... That was bad. I mean, it was so bad, I'll just put it to you this way. I think I owe the Sony State of Play last week an apology. While I'm not saying that that thing is now magically good, it's not as terrible. At least it had the decency to only be a half hour long, while this was literally like having a 2 hour long NyQuil advertisement or commercial, or God forbid a movie, because that's what I felt like it was, a dose of NyQuil, because I nearly just was so bored or fell asleep, so non-invested. I mean, I didn't have insane expectations either. I was like, maybe I'll see a few interesting things, but you're going to hear me say this word a lot, and it's going to get to the point and the problem I have with a lot of these so-called like events, festivals, showcases. It's presentation. Presentation matters, and honestly, whoever is doing the presentation over there at these things, they need to get a new job, because they're in the wrong line of work, because none of these presentations are presenting games in the way they need to be shown. Because I'm not going to be up here and saying, oh, I think every single game shown off was terrible or garbage. Also acknowledging the fact that I understand that not every single game is made for me, and I get that and understand that. It's not going to be me knocking things that just are never going to float my boat in the first place. But the problem here, as I said, it's not the games that were shown. It's how they were shown off, because a lot of them were just shown off terrible. Even things that I was interested in, they were shown off in such a terrible way. Like, I'll give you a great example. One of the more anticipated titles that we did get a release date, so that was one nice thing about it, was Black Myth Wukong. And that was a very much anticipated title. The only good thing I can say about it is we got a release date, which is basically 2 months from now. But what we get, you'd expect, if it's come out in 2 months, maybe like a 5 to 10 minute just gameplay thing where you just watch gameplay of it. They used to do this back in the glory days of like so-called E3, but now it's just like we're just going to show you like a 1 minute teaser cinematic, not even any like actual gameplay. Because, as I said, a lot of the gameplay we've seen is older builds, and I want to see something like more recent to what we're expected to see when it comes out. And the fact that they didn't show off anything, it makes me very skeptical and worried about it. Hey, maybe something's wrong. And as I said, it could be just them being terrible in how to market and advertise, but it just made me feel that way. It's like, why aren't you showing more stuff off? Like, I'll give you a good example to understand how I feel in terms of the whole presentation. How many times have you guys seen a bad movie trailer? You watch a trailer for a movie, you're like, oh my god, that's terrible, I'd never watch that. But for some reason, way or shape or form, you see the movie somehow, maybe, years later, and you think, this movie was really solid, I actually enjoyed it. Too bad the trailer, when I first saw it, gave me the wrong impression. Like, the trailer was not indicative of how good the movie was. And that's how I feel like a lot of this stuff is at this whole Summer Games Fest, and a lot of these showcase things is what they're presenting is not interesting. Like, it'll be like if I'm playing Resident Evil 4, if I'm showing off Resident Evil 4 Remake, and all I do is show a bunch of random moments of just Leon walking around the, village or wherever, and you don't hardly see any, fighting, action, enemies, or nothing. It's just him by himself walking around. And just like, as we all know, the game was exciting and great, but what was advertised, if I did it like that, it's not getting you invested. Like, hey, I want to put money down and buy this game. And that's the problem. There's a lot of games that I can guarantee if you gave them to me, I would enjoy them, but based on what I've seen from this whole fest, would I enjoy it enough to put money down on it? That's a different discussion, because they're not giving me reasons to do it when they present it so terribly. But let's get to the heart of the matter. And this is something that I didn't understand. And the funny part is that the guy running the thing, Jeff, himself even admitted, hey, tamper your expectations. It's not going to be that big of a year. And I know some people are hoping, hey, he's just doing that on purpose to maybe hide some things. But no, he was definitely not lying. But here's the thing. It goes back to what I said. I need to apologize for state of play, because at least that was only half an hour. If you don't got 2 hours of exciting gameplay and stuff like that, you don't need to have it 2 hours. I'll put it to you bluntly. I honestly believe they could have cut this thing down to 45 minutes. Because a lot of this stuff doesn't need to be shown off. Like, in terms of this spectacle. Like, you can show it off later on, like the days after. You know, just having like a trailer or something. Or maybe talking to the developer. But I don't want to be kept for 2 hours, basically hostage in a NyQuil movie or advertisement. No, like, cut a lot of this stuff out. Like, here's an example. You know, they had the Bloomhouse movie studios get into the gaming division, which, is cool, and I wish them the best of luck. But what did they do? They just showed off 6 games in a span of a minute. How am I going to get invested, excited for any of that? Normally you would show off one and try to build anticipation and show off that one and get people excited. No, you just went through 6 games, before I could say yippee-ki-yay. And I'm just like, I'm not going to be invested in any of that stuff. And maybe down the line they'll do a better job of that. But that's just like is an example of why this whole festival is such a failure. It's just running through. It's like, how many games can we jam pack in here? And another thing I want to point out, and listen, I love indie developers just as much as the next people, but damn it, we don't need to have as many indie developer games just to fill out a time slot, because not everyone is going to hit. And it just seemed like they just wanted to add an indie developer game just for the sake of being it. And I got news for you. I know this may be a shocker to some people, but not every indie developed game is a good game. Unfortunately, it's just not how it goes. And there was a few good hit ones on there I saw, but there's a lot of them. I'm just wondering, why are we wasting so much time with this? Like, this doesn't need to be for this type of event. Like, this could be after the event, like, days when they have follow-up days and showing off stuff. And then it's just funny where a lot of this stuff is just, for instance, I know for like the Star Wars Outlaws game, if you want to see some gameplay of that, they got that for, the Ubisoft thing along with the, Assassin's Creed. So that takes away a lot of, things that people really want to see more gameplay of. So that takes away a lot of the stuff. But you don't need to have it 2 hours. I don't know why they thought 2 hours of torture was a good idea, because it clearly was not. And it just seems like the more we see these events, it's like they're getting so disconnected to what people want to see. And I get it. I'm not going to be one of those guys to say, oh, I expect the greatest reveals ever. Because even in the past, not every show was like that. But it's just like more and more. It's funny. My complaints back in the glory days of E3 is I felt like they had too much time of people like talking. Like, they'll have the people on stage and they're talking. And the funny part is, I think they do a better job nowadays of limiting that. But the problem is, it's like they want to show as many games off as possible, but it's like, if you're barely showing off any of these games and you're just giving like 30 seconds to a minute of just random gameplay segments, it's not getting me invested. Like Phantom Blade Zero, that a lot of people say that might have been the best looking thing of the whole show. It's debatable, but why not just have a whole gameplay segment and not transitions where it's just jumping over, like someone actually playing a whole segment without jumping all over the place? That would have been, huge. That would have been big, but no, they don't. They just constantly just want to do these 1-2 minute things. And then, to top it off, then they waste more time with, commercials for a game? And I'm just like, wow. I'm not here to watch commercials for a game. And they even had, like, moments from, a movie and stuff. It's like, dude, I get it, understand it. Not for this. You can have that revealed elsewhere, but why are you wasting time? It's like as if they had no choice but to do a 2-hour show. And in my honest opinion, no, they shouldn't have done a 2-hour show. They should have done a 45-minute show at best, at longest. Because a lot of that stuff didn't need to be shown off. It could be shown off later on its own. It didn't need to be shown off here in this circumstance, but unfortunately it's like they forced us to basically suffer between it, and that's why a lot of people are looking at it really disappointed. And as I posted on line, in the words of Rocky IV, one of my favorite lines in that movie, throw the damn towel. Like, seriously, throw the damn towel. Holy shit, that was bad. We should honestly charge them for torture, because that was like a new form of torture, man, because it was put me to sleep. I had a comment from the Bengal Dragon, and he said, he missed it because he went to work. This is how bad it is. You want to know how bad it was? I said, damn it, I wish I was working so I wouldn't have to watch that, because I'd rather be working than watching that. That's how bad. I'd rather be at my job working than watching that whole thing, because it just felt more like a chore than actually doing actual work. So, yeah, take it for what it will. But as I always like to say, that is my opinion. I'd like to hear your guys' opinion. How did you feel about this festival? You, like me, just really just baffled by how terrible it was? Maybe you thought it was better than I did. But if you do think it's bad, how do you think they can solve this? Like, how do you think they can fix this? Maybe just get a new person that does presentation right, because obviously they don't have to present nothing. But that is going to be it. Hopefully you guys did enjoy this video, and hopefully I can see you guys back on the next one, and hopefully we get some better presentations for these gaming conferences, because they're just terrible. But regardless, I hope you guys enjoy the rest of the day, and I'll see you all later. Peace.